The best thing to do right now is collaborate. So we're at the cycle point where the best returns are, from people that are sharing with each other. There's a huge market and it's growing massively right now. So if you're involved in crypto in any way, you're actually better off, instead of trying to capture little opportunities for yourself, you're better off sharing things and creating tit for tat positive interactions. And so collaboration is the right strategy right now for the market that we're in this kind of growing bull market. And hopefully if we do that together, the space will do a lot better than it did last time with these like SBF type of people that were not doing things very collaboratively.
Jordi, thanks for coming on. It's great to have you on the Defiant show.
I'm excited. It's a busy time in the markets, busy time in crypto, and it's a great time to chat about everything going on.
Exactly, and we're going to get into a lot of topics today. So I'll just kick it off with your intro. So Jordi, you're the founder of Selini Capital, which is a trading and venture firm focused on digital assets. And you're also focused on the Mantle Network, which is a modular layer 2 EVM-compatible blockchain that uses optimistic rollups. But before venturing into crypto, you were a professional poker player and you've competed in the Mind Sports Olympiad, and you're an expert in game theory in general. So can you possibly just walk us through your journey with all these key highlights that led you to discovering crypto and eventually working in it?
Yeah, I guess you could say it's a perfect storm where my background really prepared me for the craziness of crypto. Crypto is really right now, as the form that we see it in, it's part financial product. So, we are talking about investments in digital assets. Ultimately, crypto is cryptocurrency related. You're exchanging value. That's the main kind of purpose of crypto. And so the experience I have in the traditional finance world, for 10 years working at some of the largest trading firms is quite relevant. And then you could say that my poker background kind of prepares me for the kind of crazy stuff that we see sometimes. The meme coins and the speculation and the NFTs and all these things are, I guess, something that they're not as strategic as poker, but they are very much in that type of human psychology world.
Nice. Yeah, there are many examples of poker players turning into crypto. I want to get into a bit of game theory because I've listened to your podcast with Suzu from a couple of years ago, focusing on game theory. I have a background in neuroeconomics and I've studied game theory a little bit academically as well. So it's a field that I'm really, really interested in. So I just want to get from your perspective, the ways that you apply game theory principles within crypto.
Yeah, so crypto is all about game theory. These things permeate every aspect, whether you're trading and you're trying to, figure out what to buy before other people buy and when to sell before they sell. There's a lot of mass coordination, especially as we saw with GameStop. If everything is coordinated in the same place, there's a huge power that kind of goes with it, and understanding that and the game theory behind it is very useful. And then you could say there's the micro structure level where individual protocols, the designs of how all these DeFi protocols or these other gaming protocols are, and how you win tokens or lose tokens depending on decisions you make. Should you lock up, do a VE 4-year lockup, or do you go for the quick returns, or there's all these game theory decisions. And the reality is we're very early on as an industry, and there's a lot of mistakes being made. And if you understand game theory, at least, you can avoid pitfalls, but you can also, to be honest, find very good opportunities for plus EV, positive expectation decisions also.
And how can we explore those concepts to find those expectations basically?
Yeah, you have everything from things that are designed just sort of as a game theory, as a game. So, we had Olympus DAO. That was one example of people trying to coordinate and lock up tokens and all these things. So if you study it and understand it, you can either just not participate and avoid, because you realize there's some pyramids being built, or you can, try to enter and exit at the wrong time. Me personally, I'm more of a practitioner. I don't like to stay in the academic world. So even though, on the one side, when you see something is, not sustainable, academically you might just say, okay, I'm not going to get involved. But from a trader practical standpoint, you might still find opportunities to get involved in some of these projects and see what happens.
Olympus DAO was like the perfect example for it, because it was just basically a copy paste of like almost Prisoner's Dilemma, right? And like the ultimate purpose was to just play a coordinated game long term, and like the outcome is like everybody wins. So that turned out to be true for a brief period of time. Then everything went wrong. Like, why does that happen? Why didn't it not continue to be a sustainable thing for the people involved in it?
Yeah, this has been happening many times in crypto, not just Olympus DAO, but you start with a small group and they can coordinate and become tribal and sort of like nobody sells and diamond handing and just sort of marking up the market price. And when you mark up the market price, it looks like very successful. It doesn't mean people can get out and liquidate their positions, especially if somebody has like 5-10% of the token, they're not going to be able to get out at that market price. But with Olympus, people started to think that it was potentially this like 3-3 meme that meant that you're actually better off by not selling, you're better off by holding, and the people who sell are worse off. That was actually just never true. It wasn't true from the beginning. It wasn't true at any point. Just at some point, somebody said, okay, I have to take care of my family. Por mi familia, I'm going to sell my like $5 million, $10 million, whatever happened. And that just started this cascade where, it's like a rush for the exits, and the exit is very small. So this has happened many times. Like that was one obvious example, but you could even say that Luna and UST were another example that was much larger and much more institutional. And people kind of got tricked by this stablecoin analogy, thinking it was a stablecoin, and when it was just a Ponzi.
Arguably, you can say that the Olympus DAO game theory aspect was more like a meme or like a narrative that they were playing, more than actual like game theory mechanics itself. As you said, those 3-3 was just like a narrative to keep people engaged.
Yeah, and I think it worked for a while. I mean, a lot of things worked last cycle. People were doing 10,000 PFP collections, and if they had a nice, catchy artwork and a name to it, people would buy it. And, most of these things, from a game theory perspective of the founder, they're just collecting all the money up front and they don't have to do anything. They don't have to deliver any like roadmap or anything. You've already incentivized them from the beginning, which is very wrong. So this is kind of like why we're not seeing these like massive PFP collections anymore. I think, incentives are needing to be aligned in order for good outcomes. And, each cycle, the industry is learning, things that work and don't work.
What can we learn from game theory, from a perspective from like an investor, a trader, or someone who's involved with the ecosystem, involved in crypto on a daily basis? What are some key insights and takeaways can someone who doesn't know about game theory much can learn according to you?
Yeah, the term game theory, people think of like, John Nash and like movies and stuff and things like giga brain stuff. All you need to know is two things. One, incentives are everything. So you should always be thinking about incentives. What incentives are getting created for what behavior? Two, think about other people's mindset. You need to kind of put yourself in their psychology, because game theory is all about, how does the collective strategies come together. So everyone is like doing their own thing, but this creates a dynamic that's what game theory is. So think about what other people's incentives are. That's the bottom line. When it comes to trading, you look at the other market participants that are pushing the market, and are you early or are you their exit liquidity? Like this is like something that should be in everyone's mind constantly. When it comes to projects, what are the incentives of the people building? Like, are they going to do a long-term project, or they're doing a short-term project, for example? Being able to navigate these things, you have to think about other people's incentives all day. That's what I do.
So I want to get into Selini Capital. Can you briefly get into like how you started it and what was your like motivation behind Selini Capital? Yeah,
so I've been like personally into crypto for years. First got exposed in 2016. But, that was like on a PA sort of side. And around 2020, when the volumes really started picking up and Bitcoin after COVID was becoming like a very active traded instrument, I sort of set up a sub-team in my main traditional trading team, and I put a few people on it, and we started dabbling into trading the crypto assets. And every few months, a couple more people would migrate over, and this kept happening because the opportunity was just growing and it was much bigger there. And so at some point, we just kind of went all in and spun off Selini, and it's only focused on crypto now.
Interesting. And how big is the team now at this point?
Yeah, teams of 40 people now.
How big are like these capital or like investment firms usually, and where do you sit within that capacity and size?
Yeah, there's different types of firms. There's funds. So funds are basically external capital. It's called LP capital, and you go to wealthy investors or institutional investors, and you raise money, and then you invest their money, and you kind of keep some of it, right? A traditional sort of hedge fund structure. There's some of those in crypto, but more on the venture side. On the high frequency trading side, which is a lot of what we do as well, you actually have more prop funds because the amount of investment you need to do is so high that once you do it, you don't want to share returns with external investors, because the hard part is actually building infrastructure and connecting everywhere and having very low latency technology. So we are a prop firm. You could say Jump is one example of another prop firm that has been in crypto, and that's the best analogy. And at this point we are one of the largest in the world. We have started trading over 10 billion volume a day in this market, which is certainly like one of the top traders in the world right now.
And how would you describe the investment philosophy of Selini Capital?
Yeah, so I mentioned the high frequency trading side, which is obviously more market neutral and liquidity provision. We also do venture, so we do maybe like 4 deals a month, maybe 1 a week. So we invest in things that we understand well. So a lot of DeFi, infrastructure. We are starting to actually also invest in Web3 games. We are getting into it, and it looks like an interesting growing space. And so we're quite open. And then we're also starting to look at the AI X crypto intersection, given that a lot of our team has a strong technical slant.
Can you possibly name a few projects that you've invested in the gaming sector?
Yeah, so recently, this last month, we were excited to work with 3 of the largest and most promising ones. So we've invested in Oh Baby Games, which is a very crypto native. There's all these crypto Twitter characters like Kobe, and they're going around go-karts. We've invested in Cypher, which is a very blue chip game out of Vietnam, and we've invested in Illuvium. As you can see, we're getting quite active in the space right now.
And are those projects mostly Ethereum based, or what's in general? My question is, I guess, does Selini Capital invest in which ecosystems are you focused on?
So some projects go to immutable. A lot of them are either doing their own chains or they're partnering with other chains. I think Oh Baby is about to announce a huge partnership with one of the most promising up-and-coming kind of chains. I don't want to pre-announce, but sometimes it's not only Ethereum-based. Yeah. The way these things work with these games is generally they will design the game. It's a lot of work. It's years of work. And then they'll figure out the on-chain component last. So they can actually keep the flexibility. And so, a game like Cypher doesn't actually have to decide till the very end where it wants its on-chain assets to be. And, there's a lot of bids by chains right now. It's very competitive. There's millions of dollars being thrown as grants for promising games to put their on-chain assets. I think it's not just because of the gas potential. It's also just the sheer value of attention that you can get from having a blue chip game association.
So you mentioned AI, DeFi, and gaming, and I think one of the biggest narratives in particularly the last couple of months has been restaking. That sector is just blowing up. So is that something that you are focused on at Selini as well? Do you have any interest in or investments there?
Yeah, I mean, you might have seen recently EtherFi announced their raise, and we're part of that raise as well. So they're the kind of leading restaking option right now. They think they have 2.2 billion of TVL. And you could say that Mantle is quite focused on giving users the full yields that are possible, and restaking is one of those options. So, with METH, we have been exploring restaking extensively. We have 100,000 ETH staked into EigenLayer as a sort of like a starting point. So that's generating a ton of EigenPoints that we're going to be sharing with the METH community.
Oh, fascinating. How do you manage risk in Selini Capital? Like, what sort of strategies do you have around risk management?
Yeah, we don't really need to do any risk management, thankfully. We're not needing to look at that stuff. We're not a liquid fund. So liquid funds are the ones that need to do a lot of risk management. We're at the two spectrums where you don't need to do risk management. So on the one hand, you have like venture where, you're just sort of, you have a certain amount of capital that you're going to be investing for the long term, right? And so, it's just a matter of like choosing good projects. There's no risk management there. And then on the other side, we're in the very like low latency market neutral side. So we're providing liquidity. And so, those strategies are generally like, fluctuating between, long and short several times a day. So it's just more about like infrastructure risk, nothing with your AWS setup or nothing else going wrong, and less so about market risk. Market-wise, we're obviously long in many ways of crypto. So we're long first, through venture. We've invested heavily in many projects. We're long like as an industry because like on the high frequency trading side, the more volume there is and the more things go up, we're sort of like benefiting from that activity. And so you could say that we are very structurally long and we're very bullish the space.
So just moving over to Mantle at this point, you have an interesting title at Mantle, Chief Alchemist. Can you possibly elaborate on what that title is and like what you do at Mantle?
Yeah, so because, as I mentioned, I'm running quite a large firm. My involvement with Mantle is to kind of bring magic and just kind of sprinkle some fairy dust on top of the cool things that they're doing. And so, the Chief Alchemist title wasn't come up with me, but by the team at Mantle. They kind of invited me to join in this title, which, you could say that in all my spare time and all the time that I have available, I'm very passionate about what we're building at Mantle, and I'm very involved in, building up the ecosystem. And really, I have the desire and need to do things in a new way. And I hate just like cloning stuff and doing, Uniswap deployment 69 and Aave 52 and taking meme coin and putting Inu in front and then like doing this stuff. So everything that I'm doing is really trying to scratch that itch that I have as a, builder to innovate. And Mantle is a fantastic kind of playground because of the amount of resources and the amount of talented people there.
How do you manage your time between Selini Capital and Mantle? Because they both seem like they take a lot of time, a lot of energy. How do you do that?
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. It's just sort of, a lot of context switching. I used to get exhausted by context switching. Mentally it's very difficult. But I do have an extensive training in mental focus for many hours. I used to play chess, not professionally, but on a world level, and then poker and bridge. And I can really just spend, 15 hours a day context switching and keeping up with things. So how is it done? I have no idea. And when I'll reflect on it in 5 years, maybe when things calm down.
So a classic question is, how is Mantle different from other layer twos, right? Because there are just so many layer twos, and there's still so many layer twos to come. Like there's almost every month there's a new layer two being announced. So how does Mantle fit in the layer two space?
Yeah, there's very few layer twos that are similar to Mantle. Actually, there's zero when you dig in. So on the one side, like there's obviously some like very good association with a very large top 4 centralized exchange. You could say that Base has that. I think OKX and Binance haven't successfully been able to create a strong layer 2 at this point. So Base is the only one in that category. You move on to the next category. There's a huge treasury of like real assets. So not the native token, but Ethereum and stablecoins. So having over $1 billion, at this point significantly over, including, I think, about 300,000 ETH. That's a huge bazooka that, a new layer 2 that's just, trying to launch and do some games doesn't have. And that generates a lot of opportunities to create like deep liquidity, attract a lot of, good projects. And so the combination of those two things is quite rare. And it kind of opens up the design space for someone like me to, build things like METH, for example. This would not really be possible with another chain.
So can we talk about the main use cases for Mantle right now? What are the most used applications we can find on Mantle?
Yeah, so Mantle is very much, you could say, bread and butter. Starts from the DeFi space because of the large amount of assets that we have that we can incentivize liquidity with. So you can say that METH, Mantle Staked Ether, is the first sort of blockbuster product to come out of Mantle, and that's a very fundamental building block. So it's over $2 billion right now, which is very crazy to think about. This was a little idea that we had maybe 9 months ago, and it's sort of built up to where it is. So having that building block where you have a fantastic yield generating product with sustainable yield, and then we also are working very hard on the stablecoin side. And we want to pair those two together, and then we'll kind of like see the amazing things that can come out. So on the stablecoin side, we have around $60 million worth of Ondo USDY on chain, which is generating 5% in treasury yield. And at this point, we have a huge 100 million in Ethena USD, and you could say that there is an internal project now to combine these things together and generate a single, stable asset with a lot of rewards. So we're trying to innovate quite strongly in a way that nobody has on the stablecoin side.
Just today, I checked the staking yield on METH, and currently is around like 7.9 APY. How does Mantle generate that amount of APY, like compared to the other staking services? Yeah,
so you're kind of crazy to be using anything but Mantle ETH right now, because the yield is like it's more than double, significantly more than double anything else you can possibly use. So the reason lies in the treasury that we talked about before. There's 300,000 ETH on the treasury side, so around $1 billion of ETH. So out of the 2 billion, 1 billion is the treasuries, and so we can incentivize the other 1 billion with our yield. So first, that doubles the yield because we're kind of doing like a 1-to-1 double dose yield is sort of what we're calling it. And the other thing that we're doing is, because of all the eigenlayer restaking that we've done as well, there's a ton of eigen rewards that will later be also passed on to only METH that's on layer 2, because we obviously want to incentivize people to bridge their METH and put it into the ecosystem on the layer 2 side. So those are the ones that we'll be targeting for the eigen side. But everybody, even on the L1, can enjoy right now the double dose of the yield.
Interesting. So how do you actually account the eigenlayer points system? Because first of all, 100% of that is going to go back to the community and feed the yield percentage, right? So how do you calculate the yield that you're going to get from eigenlayer?
So I think eigenlayer, you shouldn't try to calculate it or whatever. It's just an extra airdrop. We don't want people to be FOMOing that they're not getting eigen points. So we're going to be trying to find the best way to airdrop them the eigen rewards. So I don't call them points because we might just give directly the tokens depending on when the token launches, and we'll be doing various snapshots and tracking activity. So that's something additional on top of the yield.
Just going back to the partnership with Ondo Finance, you mentioned the USDY conversion to MUSD that can be used as a stablecoin on Mantle. Can you get into the sort of partnership with Ethena?
Yeah, those are two separate things. They're both in the category of stablecoins with yield. They're obviously very different. One is getting it from Uncle Sam. The other one is getting it from degens that are leveraging long Ethereum, right, on perpetual. So they're very different. Us as a treasury, the way we see it is like, we should be diversified into various yield-bearing stablecoins. And we have been progressively getting out of our USDC and USDT into these like very strong opportunities. And we're working internally on a secret project to generate a single coin, single stable coin that can be used in all the DeFi that will actually be backed by these different sort of diversified yield-bearing assets. Because the problem people have right now with liquidity is if you're going to do a pool, let's say like an ETH USDC pool, do you use ETH USDT, ETH USDC, ETH Ondo USDY, ETH Ethena dollars? Like there's so many. And they each have some benefits and some downsides. And ultimately we will be finding hopefully a really nice way to combine them into a single stable asset.
So this is a secret project you're currently working on at Mantle.
Yes.
And is there an approximate like roadmap or like expectation when the community can get something like this?
Yeah, Q2, so quite soon.
You're dropping a lot of alpha today. That's awesome. And before we hit record today, you said that it's nighttime for you right now. And you said you're going to be up for another 12 hours because of another interesting project that's coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I don't know exactly when this is coming out. Obviously, we're recording on Thursday. I think right now, what I can say, will be quite evident later on. But I'm devising a project called Puff, which is on Mantle. You could call it a meme coin 2.0. So it's a very advanced version of what a meme coin can potentially be. And as part of that meme coin launch, which hasn't happened yet, it'll be happening very soon, probably before this video airs. But
when is it happening actually?
So tomorrow actually is the token launch of Puff. You'll potentially hear about the pre-launch, which is an NFT potion that will summon Puff. Puff is this dragon. He is a black and golden dragon. He's part degen, that's the black side, and he's part lawful, that's the golden side. And Puff will be summoned by the NFTs. So everybody who has a potion tomorrow and Friday will be able to summon Puff and get their coins. So one meth worth of potion is going to summon 42,069 Puff coins. And we have actually surpassed, I think, 16 million of NFT mints. So this is the largest mint of the year now. It's surpassed the Ordinal's Quantum Cats mint. So quite a big deal, and we're looking forward to summoning Puff very soon.
Anyone can stake their ETH on Mantle, get one meth, and then turn that into the amount of Puff tokens that you mentioned, right? Like they can still do that.
They can still do that. There's until midnight Eastern tonight. So if you get this video out today, until midnight Eastern, so there's still some time. They can mint both on L1 and on L2. So we're doing a dual mint. There's an option to participate on mainnet if that's easier for people. And they can go to the website, the official website. Don't get fished. You can check out the official sites. Maybe you can put them below in the comments so people can check it out.
And if they can't participate, they can go on the secondary.
Yes. So exactly. Once the token is launched, it'll be in a very large AMM. So people will be able to access Puff coins directly without going through the potion.
So just trying to understand this myself as well. So you take the coins and then you can mint an NFT from that? Like, what's
opposite.
the NFT?
It's opposite.
Okay.
You mint the NFT, the NFT will give you coins.
Okay, and then you can keep both, or do you have to burn?
Yes.
Okay.
You keep both, but there's metadata in the NFT. So depending on how much potion strength it has, that's how many coins you get. Once you claim the coins, the metadata is going to change to 0. So you can't just keep claiming. You can only do it while the metadata of the coins is still alive. For this new cycle where the NFT market is still heating up again. It's early. It was marked for dead for a while, but you could say that this is not a pure NFT project and it's not a pure meme coin project. It's an evolution of what all those things are into a community metaverse DeFi world. And there's be a lot of really cool experiences that Puff holders will be able to do. There's a 3D room where Puff will be able to fly around and interact in different ways. So it's super exciting. I think the best way to let people check it out is by experiencing it for themselves very soon.
I just want to talk about the structure of Mantle. So previously, a year ago, approximately, BitDAO rebranded as Mantle. Can you talk about like the structure of this change and what the rebrand represents?
Yeah, it was a change from being more of an investment-focused DAO with all these sub DAOs that were invested into, and instead becoming like a product DAO where we have the layer 2, we have the staking ETH product. There's sort of more products that we're talking about with the stablecoin. So we really just want to create things that people are using directly rather than just investing. And so it was a complete rebrand and a change of direction that I think is much more exciting and sensible.
Where do you think we are in the cycle at the moment?
Yeah, we're nowhere near the end of the cycle. We're let's say like third inning or maybe like late third inning. So we will obviously very likely be breaking all-time highs in the majors. If we haven't already on Bitcoin, I'm not sure if it sort of touched through or not. But we're at the stage where we're entering price discovery. So price discovery means that we don't really know where the upside kind of risk-reward balance is. It could be much higher. And so we're in this exciting period where there's a lot of trading going on, a lot of volume, because the market is not sure where is the equilibrium between, supply and demand. You talk about economics, you have the traditional thing. It's very, very relevant right now because we have a new demand coming in from ETFs mainly, right? And so that's starting to also like bring in some retail because they're starting to sniff that there's some opportunities. The demand goes up. And then here's the cool thing about crypto. If you look at coins that have a limited supply that, is like deflationary or potentially, very low inflation like Bitcoin has, the supply can get very inelastic. And so just some increase in demand can make the price move a lot because there's not a lot of people willing to sell, at 65,000, at 70,000. Who knows exactly where people's marginal, selling interest comes, but it could be a lot higher. So, I've predicted an Ethereum price at the start of the year when we were at 2,000. I said 6,000 to 8,000 by end of year. We're already at 4. So hopefully, I haven't. I thought I was being aggressive, and people were sort of like surprised that I was that bullish. But we'll see where things end up.
So you said 8,000, and I guess that's like a 10x from the bottom from the bear market, right? So another interesting aspect that you pointed out is we're moving fast right now. We're at 4,000. I've seen a few people talking about this cycle is moving faster than expected and faster than previous cycles, and it's going straight up right now, right? So do you think the cycles from now forward, or even just particularly this cycle, is going to be shorter, faster, aggressive than the previous ones?
I think every cycle is different, completely unique to its environment. I call, this could potentially be the largest cycle in terms of the starting point of the global market cap and the ending point. I don't think we'll have another one like it because this potentially could be the cycle where, the large real money, right? Like not the little crypto market caps that we're playing with, but the real, $1 trillion things, sovereign wealth funds, these types of things. If this is the cycle that they potentially are sort of FOMO'd in, which is looking possible, this could be the largest cycle and it'll give it a unique flavor. Not every asset will perform well, but some that are obvious, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some other ones will potentially do very well.
Do you think the sort of injection of traditional TradFi boomer money entering crypto, is it going to make crypto markets more stagnant, slow, and boring going forward? Do you think this is going to be the last big, massive, crazy cycle?
I think, by the time we get to gold, we are many years away from that kind of boring, stagnant, it moved 1%, okay, cool. We're nowhere near that. I'm not going to even think about when that's going to happen because I can't even see it in the horizon. It will eventually potentially happen for, something like Bitcoin, in many years, right? It will happen once there's no price discovery to really be done and it's sort of being figured out what this thing is worth. But we are miles away from that. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that right now, Alp. Yeah.
Do you have any price predictions for this cycle?
Ethereum, 6 to 8K. Bitcoin, it's looking like we'll break 100. I don't know exactly where it ends up, so I can't really give as good an estimate on Bitcoin. I feel like that has a tail where, I think on average ETH will outperform Bitcoin this year, but there's a tail scenario where like Bitcoin has like a very, very blue chip mainstream adoption by, the Qatari government or something that, changes the ball game, and then Bitcoin will outperform. So the distribution is quite different for Bitcoin. There's a fat tail, you could say, on the right side. And so it's hard to predict. Yeah, so I don't think Ethereum is quite there in terms of, a game-changing, new player starting to buy Ethereum. I think the first one that will potentially have like a nation state, not El Salvador, but like, a very, very wealthy one come in is quite high, especially, some of the Middle Eastern states have been looking at it quite closely already. There could be like a game changer through, like a US financial institution that starts to put Bitcoin into, like fixed ETF. We've seen hints of that happening in Canada, I think with Fidelity, like some of their products have like a 2-3% crypto allocation. If you get Bitcoin into, like a mainstream allocation for like a BlackRock size of company, that can be a game changer that creates a tail, like a fat sort of right tail, which means like there's a probability of an explosive Bitcoin reaction. I think eventually ETH might have that as well, but it's in a different stage.
Do you have an expectation on where the bull cycle sort of ends and we get into another bear?
Another bear is inevitable. As we all know, people will always get overexcited in crypto and already, even though we're early on, I said third inning, we're having dog coins and random AI coins that are just completely disconnected from real world valuations. So when I say real world, we're looking at some of the largest, most legitimate companies in the world, like OpenAI, marking at 80 billion, then you have like WorldCoin marking at like 90 billion. These things don't make any sense. So, we're in a bubble in some things already, you could say. So the inevitable bear market, hard to say. Like if new money keeps coming in from the traditional side, it can extend the market quite far. But like I said at the beginning, we may have quite a divergence between how some things behave, and we've even seen that already this cycle. There's many days where something will be green and then everything else is red, while in the past everything had the same beta.
Which sectors do you think are going to continue growing? Like some of the trends or narratives from this cycle have been like AI and meme coins are really, really strong. And Deepin is a wild card. It sort of pops off here and then. Solana had a strong Deepin season. Gaming is, as you brought up earlier on, is also like shaping up. Some of the survivors from the previous cycle are coming back strong and actually delivering products. What are your expectations from like all these narratives that are sort of hot and relevant to the current bull market?
Yeah, there's a lot of narratives right now. We are trying to keep up with as many as we possibly can. It's impossible to do everything. So as mentioned, gaming, AI, infrastructure, restaking, DeFi, like these are like the main ones that we're very close and on top of. Deepin looks quite interesting. I wouldn't say that we've gone super deep there, but we're starting to take a look at it. We're expanding our investment team so that we can try to cover more ground, and ultimately we'll go down as many rabbit holes as we can. I mentioned some of the games we like. On the AI side, I think It's really early to tell, but what I'm seeing from the market is that it wants to invest in AI coins. It just thinks that there have to be good returns possible. And, sometimes you have this like self-fulfilling prophecy where a coin might not have a lot of real kind of meat behind it yet. But, once it goes to $1 billion and it can raise, 9 figures, suddenly they can hire a world-class team and give the market what it wants. Like the market wants it to be, billions of dollars, and it can sort of form it through the collection of, investors that is only possible in crypto. So we keep a very open mind. And I think ultimately, if a founder is very good, he'll be able to take the capital that the market is providing for some of these narratives. It's just saying like, here, take my money. It's that meme, like the guy's like, so if the founder is actually like, straight, he's like a very legitimate guy that wants to, build a big company and do it properly. There's a lot of opportunity for them. And so, I personally like to back founders above everything else. I've seen founders kind of pivot when the idea was bad and get the job done. So we're taking that approach.
Do you have any final words that you'd like to share with our audience, Jordi?
Yeah, final words, and I believe this strongly. And it ties back to your game theory question. The best thing to do right now is collaborate. So we're at the cycle point where the best returns are, from people that are sharing with each other. There's a huge market and it's growing massively right now. So if you're involved in crypto in any way, you're actually better off instead of trying to capture little opportunities for yourself. You're better off sharing things and creating, tit for tat, positive interactions. And so, collaboration is the right strategy right now for the market that we're in this kind of growing bull market. And hopefully if we do that together, the space will do a lot better than it did last time with, these like SPF type of people that were not, doing things very collaboratively.
Fantastic. I think that's a great moment to end the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a fantastic conversation.
Thank you. Cheers.